Apparently, the best solution to the male suicide epidemic is right here all along. Just get taller. This is the only advice short men haven't heard yet. But look, when somebody's in a crisis, especially one as serious as suicide, the worst thing you could do is make them defend why they're feeling pain. I made a Reddit post trying to uplift short men without trying to sound heightist. And one specific comment stood out to me greatly. They talked about feeling suicidal, calling the suicide hotline, and pretty much getting a lame-ass response. And you know what they said to them? They basically said the equivalent of LOL, get over it. And then he contacted another one, same response. And another one. And this one was a little bit different, but still, same generic advice that they give to everyone. At the end of all that calling, he still felt like nobody cared. Imagine telling someone, hey, I feel like taking my own life. And you pretty much just leave the conversation feeling more confused than when you went into it. That might be an experience a lot of us have. But when it's somebody's job to actually try to connect with somebody on that personal level, and they can't even do that, that kind of shows where we are as a society. Now, obviously, it's not just being short that would push somebody to do something like that. It's feeling like they're less masculine, getting disrespected constantly, basically feeling undesired by the larger part of society. And even though, technically, you can see that most people date people closer to their height, everything feels sensationalized online. And then you get told you have a Napoleon complex just because you notice some injustices. But then we got the jokes, right? We got Short King. We got stuff that should make people feel more accepted, but ends up making them feel more alienated. Usually society says never to mock immutable physical traits, things you can't change, like race, disabilities, stuff you're born with. It can feel like that standard disappears when the target is short men. It generally is accepted to make fun of them. It's like on one hand, they tell short men to love themselves while also devaluing them in the same sentence. And with that being the case, it can make short men feel like body positivity has a height requirement. Now, I'm not saying all hotlines are evil. I mean, there's still a person on the end of that phone, so they can go through the whole script, try to figure out what's wrong with the person and even connect to them, and at the end of the day, just not understand them. But when it feels like they're just going through a checklist and trying to end the conversation as fast as possible so they can get to the next person, or just because it feels uncomfortable, then that's not a solution. That just feels like they're stalling before you do it. And then saying generic things like height doesn't matter kind of erases the pain that they actually feel. I try to tell people I understand why they feel trapped without trying to make them feel hopeless. Obviously, validating someone's pain doesn't mean validating the negative actions that they might do. It's very strange because when a certain group of short men acknowledge heightism, they feel to seem like their whole life is doomed. I always try to challenge these hopeless conclusions without undermining the actual pain beneath them. Unfortunately, when I made this post, it seems a lot more people became defensive even though I tried to understand them first. Obviously saying things like, women aren't everything, go to the gym, just be confident, or call a hotline isn't the best advice. Instead, maybe try asking questions like, what happened when you tried to get help? What did they say to make you feel dismissed? Is it the rejection, the loneliness? Is it all around how society views you? What is it? Or something like, who around you knows how bad this has gotten? Now, of course, these questions don't magically stop someone from thinking like that, but what they do is help someone understand that someone's trying to have a conversation with them instead of just throwing advice from all the way across the ocean. Unfortunately, most of the time, it seems like these things get dismissed because a lot of people can't relate. And sometimes that includes other short people. I'm going to use myself as an example. When other short men talk about getting no respect or having problems with dating, I can't relate. That's not a humble brag. I'm not trying to brag, but it's just, I can't relate. I mean, I do get jokes, but I don't know. Those jokes never really affected me like that. It's always funny when somebody tried to mock my height and then I ended up being better than them at something else. But most people cannot imagine 10 years of cumulative experiences of hearing that again and again and again and again and again. And look, it never affected me, but that can push someone else to a very dark place in their mind. And of course, that makes a lot of short people feel like they have to build a case for why they feel that way. Because of people like me, unfortunately. So yeah, the problem might not sound serious enough to you, but the fact that it makes someone want to die makes it extremely serious. And while being short, I also understand that heightism exists. But I also know that short men can experience attraction, love, and meaningful experiences. On top of being short, I'm also black, so I definitely understand what it feels like to be discriminated against or oppressed in some type of way. Me being black already gives people a stigma about me. So Imagine being black and short. I think it's a miracle that I never had to actually experience what some of these guys go through. And you know what? Sometimes I don't even feel completely past the mentality of I guess the short man complex. But when it comes to compensation, it feels like everybody compensates. I mean, some guy doesn't have enough money, so he tries to get muscles. Some guy doesn't have enough muscles, so he tries to get money. Some guy doesn't have enough love in his heart, so he tries to fill his heart with meaningless sex and a bunch of women, you know? Everyone compensates. Now, this is the ugliest part of the whole conversation. Sometimes survival is therapy and a healthy community. A healthy community is very important. Sometimes it's work, sometimes it's heavy meditation, sometimes it's just a distraction. And obviously those aren't complete solutions, but they could be bridges to the right direction. What I don't like is people try to shame coping mechanisms without offering alternative solutions. So I feel like we should always try to challenge society instead of convincing yourself that you're worthless because you don't fit in. Obviously, we should also stop treating short men like they're easy targets. Obviously, preferences exist, but the cruelty, that's a choice. And if I'm being honest, I think short men should start looking for that advocacy, looking for that support, because if you don't, then you're gonna feel like a small man in a big world, because the world's gonna keep trying to convince you that you're small and your thoughts are small and your feelings are small and your worth is small. So don't be the second person that repeats that in your own head. So to the guy that commented, I don't think you're ridiculous. I don't think you just woke up one day, saw that the doorway said 5'4", and just immediately thought your life was worthless. I believe you've been carrying that pain for pretty much all your life. But being dismissed by hotlines doesn't mean you're going to be dismissed by every single person you come across. Obviously, you deserve better than the people you got, but that doesn't mean you should stop trying to search for them. I don't personally know you, but I want you to keep living life. I want you to keep having experiences and talking to people. And next time someone makes you feel dismissed, just don't believe that's everybody. You have to understand that saving someone doesn't immediately begin with changing their mind. Sometimes it's just making them feel heard. So if somebody's expressing to you their deepest and darkest pains, think for 2 seconds before you dismiss them.